Hello and welcome to your lecture on report writing. In this lecture, your objectives are going to be to use the correct layout and devices to write an accurate report when given a scenario. Now, first of all, looking at the layout of a report. So in your exam, if you are asked to write a report, the best thing to do is use this layout. Okay, now I've got a heading or title at the top there. Okay, then you would write an introduction. What's the report about? Why are you writing? You could then use a subheading. I'm going to show you an example of a report in a minute. Okay, well, towards the end. So your subheading, depending on what the report is about, and then some paragraphs, maybe another subheading and a couple of paragraphs. You might only want to put one paragraph in here. That's fine. It's up to you. But I would write a considerable amount. You would then want a conclusion and some recommendations because a report always requires recommendations. And then at the end, you would put written by and your name. So use this layout when writing a report. Okay. You can also embolden, underline or italicize your subheadings or use them to emphasize key points within your writing. And you can use different fonts, styles and sizes as well. Now, if you're doing this on paper, then obviously you're going to have to make things bold with your pen using different sizes and things like that, or writing things in capitals. Under each subheading, use your paragraphs. You could use more than one paragraph under the subheading if you want to. You might want more than two subheadings. I've only done two here. Maybe you want three. That's also fine. Okay. Your conclusion/recommendations as well, could also be a subheading. So if you wanted to write that as a subheading, you can. Think about your target audience and what information they require. This will come to you in the question, so don't panic. Okay, it will tell you what you're writing and who for. Okay, I'm going to show you an example as well, so don't worry. When you close your report, you don't need to write in conclusion. Okay, you can just start by restating the big idea of your report and maybe give the reader something to think about. You must also give some recommendations in a report, as I've already mentioned. Okay, that depends on what the question's about, but usually you would have to make some recommendations. So, reports need to be clear and accurate. Here are two examples of everyday reports in the workplace. We have a surveyor reports reports to an architect about whether a site is suitable for building houses on. Okay, is the site suitable? Why is it suitable? Why isn't it suitable? Do you have any recommendations? All right, so you might talk about one subheading might be suitability. Okay, and then another paragraph might say, I don't know, if you want to have like negative side or negative points to make, or unsuitability if you want to. Okay, those can be your two subheadings, and within those you will write about why a site is suitable and give a few points to that, elongate your paragraphs, and then in this section you might write about why it's not suitable. And in your final in your final section, you would make some recommendations. If you are going to use this site, what are you going to do? What do you need to do before you can use it? Okay, just giving you some ideas as to what you might get asked in the exam. Another example of a report, a physiotherapist reports to a team manager on whether a footballer is fit to play in an important match. You could write about his injuries in one section with a subheading, and you can write about how well he's done in another section with a subheading. You could then make some recommendations for the footballer or for the team manager and explain why you think he should or shouldn't be able to play. Okay? So, before starting a writing task, you need to ask yourself, what am I being asked to do? This will be your purpose for writing. You need to have a clear purpose which will help you to include only information that is relevant. Alright. So, a surveyor reports to an architect about whether a site is suitable for building houses on, or a physiotherapist reports to a team manager on whether a footballer is fit to play in an important match. What is the purpose of each report we just looked at? what might happen if these reports were unclear or misleading? Now, we can say that the purpose of the first report, in fact, I won't use that colour, use blue. The purpose of the first report is to decide whether to build on an area or not. Whether to build on that site or not. Okay. And the second one was to decide whether a player can play or not. Whether a footballer, okay, can play or not, which is fine. But then, what might happen if these reports were unclear? Okay, if the architect built houses on a site because the report said that it was okay to do so, or there was lack of clarity, houses might start to sink, the foundations might start to, not quite deliver what they're supposed to. So foundations break down. Okay, there's dangers to the public. And for the second one, there'd be dangers to the footballer because he might play a match that he can't actually play, as well as the team. Okay, so we need to make sure that when we've been given a report, we're writing as much as we can about those topics, and make sure we're writing the right things. Okay, why are we writing it? What might happen if it's not clear? So we need to make it clear. Obviously, you're not going to be given every single piece of information you need to write these reports. You're going to have to make it up a little bit or use your common sense in order to write the report. And I think that's where students struggle the most. Okay, so this is why I'm going to show you an example in a moment. Always make sure you are clear about the audience for your writing. You must adapt your writing to suit your audience. Imagine them actually reading your report. This will help you decide what they need to know. Remember, reports are usually presented in formal language. Okay? They must also be in the right format, so use that layout that I gave you at the beginning. And don't forget to watch the video on formal and informal writing if you need some help with that. Right, things to include in a report. Okay, what is the report about? Why are you writing it? Who is it for? Okay, rather than who is writing it, why are you writing it? Because you're the one who's going to be writing it in the question. Okay, what is the report for? Okay, why is it being written? Sorry, repeating myself. Headings and lists can divide up the information clearly, highlighting and separating points. You definitely need a summary and recommendations for what should happen next. And then you're going to put the writer's name, which is yourself, and position can be missed out in this instance, but you can put your name and then, written by, So you'd put written by, and then you'd put your name. Okay. Now, here is an example task. Now this one is, don't worry about the time limit. If you're doing GCSE, it's 45 minutes. Okay. If you're doing functional skills, it depends on the examining body, awarding body. So just make sure you read how much time you get. Okay, so that's for the whole task in this case. Okay, and how many marks you get. So look at how much time and how many marks. So, ignoring this part, depending on what you're doing, just think about how you're going to write this report. In your spare time, you help out at Somerville Care Home, and you and a colleague have been asked to help organise the annual winter outing and meal for residents. Joe Wilkinson, the manager, has asked you to write a formal report giving feedback on last year's event, detailing possible venues for this year's event and recommending your choice with reasons. Your colleague John has done some preparation for the outing but has now gone on holiday. He has left notes to help you write the report. See below. Okay, so here are your notes. Okay. This year's winter outing notes. For 21 residents aged 69 to 93, we will pay a maximum of £15 per person. Last year's venue was Hawthorne Hotel. Transport available Saturday the 5th of December and Monday the 14th of December only. 6 staff going plus 2 volunteers. 1 lady has guide dog, 2 others use wheelchairs. Visited 6 places, narrowed down to 3. Robbo's Bar and Grill, lively modern restaurant, meal £13.95 per head. Maximum 33 people, free disco, very popular, and reviews say excellent value for money. Hawthorne Hotel, £14.95 per head, can cater for up to 50 people. Reviews say it's very traditional with carol singing. Brunt Hotel and Spa, largest hotel in Purton, up to 80 people, £14.95 per head, discounts for groups of 20 plus. Old-fashioned sing-along, old building with lots of charm and stairs. Reviews talk about good service. Comments made by residents at recent meeting. Best day of year, get to meet everyone and have good chat. Food and service at Hawthorne Hotel not great. Loved the carol singing. Service was a bit slow but gave more time to talk. Some people just like to moan. Venue last year was cold, as was food. Need something a bit more modern with better service. Okay, so you need to write the formal report as requested by Joe Wilkinson. So these are just notes and you've got to write the formal report. So you need to make sure that you present your information clearly and concisely and use an appropriate writing style, usually fairly formal for a report. Use a range of sentence structures, including complex sentences and paragraphs to organise your written communication effectively. Okay, don't forget you can use some language features and devices as well as some structural devices to make your reading more, persuasive or impactful. You need to compare and contrast the good and bad points, especially when it comes to the different hotels. You need to punctuate your text accurately, including the use of commas, apostrophes, inverted commas, and so on. And ensure your writing is fit for purpose and audience with accurate spelling and grammar that supports clear meaning. So, then you should hopefully get a pass or a level 4 minimum. So here is the example response for this, okay? Now, first of all, we have our nice title there, okay? And then it says here, purpose of the report. So this would be our introduction, okay? But you can write purpose of the report, if you like. This report is to give feedback on last year's event, to detail possible venues for this year, and to give my recommendation. So they've used a lovely subheading here, key factors to consider. So again, it's up to you what kind of headings you're going to use and what they're going to say. But as long as it's clear and coherent and it answers the question, you'll be fine. Okay, so key factors to consider. And we've got some bullet points first. Don't use too many bullet points, all right? You want to try and do quite a few paragraphs, but bullet points are okay as a minimum. There will be 21 residents ages between 69 and 93. Maximum allowance is £15 per person. Transport will be available on Saturday the 5th and Monday the 14th of December. 1 lady has a guide dog and 2 others use wheelchairs. There was mixed feedback from residents about last year's venue. So, then goes on to talk about that in a bit more detail. Last year, Alice said she liked the singers, but said it didn't offer anything special. Now, we're also going to go through and correct his spelling and punctuation here. Okay, so did not. We're writing formally, so we don't shorten, and even if we did, he's missed the apostrophe. And this is anything. Okay. Fred's food, if it's Fred's he needs an apostrophe, was cold and his vegetables were hard. He had to wait for an hour for his pud. Okay, we wouldn't write pud, we would write pudding or even dessert because it's formal. Desmond's food was freshly cooked. He disagreed that the service was too slow. He said some people just like to moan. Aileen complained about feeling cold and says they should have had central heating. Should have. We don't say should of, that's not a thing. Should have had central heating. Letitia thoroughly enjoyed the carol singing, commenting that it was wonderful to join in with the old favourites, whilst Gladys thought the names for the food were posh. Okay, so Gladys doesn't need an apostrophe there because we're not saying Gladys's thoughts. We're saying Gladys thought the names for the food were posh. Okay, so then underneath that, the Hawthorne Hotel is not a good choice for this year's winter outing for the residents of Summerfield Care Home. Okay, so fair enough, but maybe we could have spoke a little bit more about the other venues. Okay, and we could have maybe made a heading for that. You know, what kind of heading could we have put there? Okay, comparing venues maybe, something like that. I think we could have talked about them in a little more detail. Okay, and then we have our recommendations section, which is fine. We do want the recommendations section, but I think this section could have been a bit longer, especially with the amount of information you were given at the beginning. Now, the recommendations. Robbo's Bar and Grill is a possibility as it has excellent reviews, particularly for the value for money, which is an important consideration for us. Now, as I go through this, I'm thinking this recommendation section could have been the comparing venues section, and then the recommendations would have been the final choice of venue. Okay, and why it's the final choice. Okay, so then it just gives you a bit of a longer report, and I think that's better than a shorter one. Although it has a seasonal party, the meal is a buffet which might not be suitable for our residents. Also, it has a DJ and a disco for dancing. This is not what the residents want. In conclusion, I think Brunt Hotel and Spa is the best choice. It is less than £15 per person, and there's a discount. Right, theirs is wrong. There, well, we'd say there is because it's formal, okay? But if we are going to say theirs, it would be theirs. There's a discount. This theirs means it belongs to them. It offers old-fashioned hospitality and the best of the old and the new. It has a sing-along. The stairs might be a problem, though. Okay, so we've used I quite like those two short sentences, to be fair. You know, and then again, the stairs might be an issue. They will be an issue. You can't choose somewhere if people have got wheelchairs where there is stairs. Okay, so you've got to remember, try not to miss out any information. This could have been much longer than it is, and I would recommend that you make it longer. You're not going to score all your marks if it's not long enough and you've not used all the information given to you in the question. Okay? Right, so I hope you feel a bit more confident about writing a report. Okay, again, if you have any questions, talk to your tutor in your Q&A sessions about this, and you will be able to write a report with much more confidence. You can also have a practice at writing some reports by having a go at some of the practice questions and doing the assignment, and we'll see how you get on. Okay, so well done, and I look forward to seeing you next time.